a serious national security issue that requires the immediate attention and immediate action from the United States Congress. An illegal biolab was just raided in Las Vegas, and it is directly linked to the secret Chinese biolab found in Reedley, California in late 2022. That lab was oozing with E. coli, HIV, malaria, and other dangerous pathogens. The lab just raided in Vegas was operated by the same LLC and same Chinese nationals as the one discovered in Reedley. Now, we know a lot about the one discovered in Reedley because I requested a report from the House of Representatives, an investigation which resulted in a report by the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. And I want to share some of the details of that report, but I'll start with its conclusion, that no one knows whether there are other unknown biolabs because there is no monitoring system in place. Those were the words of the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party in 2023. Well, now we know there was at least one other such lab, but we still don't know how many others, because the legislation, the bipartisan legislation that I have proposed with Representative Costa and Valadao, has not yet been passed. So here's what we learned about this lab that was discovered in Reedley and that has now had a counterpart discovered in Las Vegas. It was run by an international fugitive from China named Jesse Zhu. After running various state-connected companies in China, Zhu moved to Canada, where he set up dozens of corporations to, quote, steal valuable American intellectual property and unlawfully transfer it to China. The Supreme Court of British Columbia found he committed, quote, fraud on an epic scale, resulting in a $330 million judgment. He then fled to America, assumed an alias, David He, and set up several more companies, including the one behind the Reedley Biolab and now the Vegas Biolab. He was indicted in 2023 and has been in federal custody ever since, but his partner and other associates have not been. Now, the Reedley lab was discovered in December of 2022 when a code inspector came upon a suspicious warehouse. Inside, she found many Chinese nationals wearing white lab coats, glasses, masks, and latex gloves, along with thousands of vials of biological substances and 1,000 mice. It was later learned these were transgenic mice, genetically engineered to catch and carry the COVID-19 virus. A further inspection found blood, tissue, and other bodily fluid samples and serums, along with thousands of vials of, quote, suspected biological material. Some of the vials were labeled with the names of infectious agents, while others were labeled in a code that was never deciphered. Now, at first, the CDC, this was during the Biden administration, refused to investigate, and they even hung up on local officials who asked for help. After Representative Costa got involved, the CDC did an inspection and found at least 20 potentially infectious agents, including HIV, tuberculosis, and the deadliest known form of malaria. Yet, the CDC did not bother to test any samples, even those with unknown contents, making it, quote, impossible for the Select Committee to fully assess the potential risks that this specific facility posed to the community. The Select Committee report calls this baffling. Later, local officials discovered a refrigerator in the lab labeled Ebola. Now, while the supposed purpose of the lab was to sell test kits, in fact, all the company did was buy counterfeit kits from China and resell them in the United States. Thus, the committee found there was a lack of apparent legitimate or even profit-motivated criminal motive in the operation of the facility. Meanwhile, Jesse Zhu, its operator, was receiving unexplained payments via wire transfer from Chinese banks. As I mentioned, the report concluded that we don't know if there are any other unknown biolabs because there's no such monitoring system. So that is why I am calling upon the House to act quickly to pass the bill that I've introduced along with Representatives Costa and Valadao to find any other such labs that exist across the country and assure that they are shut down. The Preventing Illegal Laboratories and Protecting Public Health Act would address gaps in federal law outlined in this congressional report. Specifically, it would require distributors of highly pathogenic agents to maintain federally reviewable logbooks of all transfers, including purchaser identity and intended use, for at least 3 years. It would strengthen oversight by mandating federal review of the number, location, and risks of high containment labs, with updated national standards for design, construction, and operation. It would protect against foreign threats by ensuring adversaries cannot exploit weak U.S. oversight to establish these secret labs. It would create a public health, biosafety, and biosecurity team as a single point of contact for state, local, tribal, and territorial governments when suspicious labs are identified. And it would require a feasibility study on creating a centralized national database of high containment labs accessible to state and local officials for biosecurity purposes. As the city manager of Reedley, Nicole Ziba, said, who was centrally involved in trying to get the federal and state authorities to take action here, she said that the Reedley incident highlighted a gap in the nation's biosecurity. Any city around this country could have dozens of deadly pathogens stored next to sensitive locations and be completely unaware of it. She said that this proposed legislation puts us on a path to closing that critical gap that will help keep every American safe from the hazards like those that were discovered in the Reedley lab. And now, of course, we've seen alarmingly similar hazards discovered in the Vegas lab. So I will be calling for a thorough investigation of what was discovered in Las Vegas, and I'm calling upon the House of Representatives to move quickly to get this bipartisan bill passed so that it can then pass the Senate and be signed into law.